This is the AI briefing from Bosio.digital. Today, every article about AI now agrees that context is the thing that matters. Almost none of them tell you what to write, so here is the actual list. Let's start with the gap, because it is bigger than it sounds. RSM surveyed just over 1,000 mid-market executives this July. 97% said they were satisfied with what AI is doing for their business. Only 36% had it embedded in how the work actually gets done. People are happy with AI and still not running on it, and the distance between those two numbers is mostly writing that nobody has done yet. So we are going to skip the argument today. We have made the case elsewhere for why context is the part worth keeping. This one is the recipe. One thing before we start, because it decides whether the rest of this is useful to you. The variable here is not how many people work at your company. It is how many people have to agree. A consultant working alone needs exactly the same 5 files as a 300-person firm. They are just faster to write because only one person has to be right. Everything that gets harder later gets harder for that reason and no other. So if you are a professional doing this for your own work, you are not the beginner version of somebody else's framework. You are the clean case. Now, what is context engineering in plain terms? It is the design of everything your AI reads before anyone types a request. A prompt is what one person asks once. Context is what the system already knows every time anyone asks anything. Prompting is a personal skill that leaves when the person leaves. Context is an asset that stays. And the practical version is far less exotic than the phrase suggests. It is writing things down, in plain language, in files organized so the right part shows up at the right moment. That is genuinely most of it. The sophistication is in what you choose to write and who keeps it true, not in the tooling. Which is why the market's answer to this keeps missing. Search for how to do this and you will be sold a knowledge management platform. Those tools are fine, but no tool can tell you what your pricing floor is, or who is allowed to approve an exception, or which client's fax must never appear in another client's room. That is not a retrieval problem, it is a writing problem, and it is yours. So here are the 5 files. This is the core of the whole method, and it does not change with size. 1. Who we are and what we actually do. Not the marketing version, what you sell, who you sell it to, what you deliberately do not do, and the 3 things a new hire always gets wrong in their first month. This is the orientation file, and it is the one people always make too long. Keep it short. 2. How we sound. Your voice defined by contrast. A paragraph describing your tone is worth almost nothing. 5 examples of things you would never say is worth a great deal. Include a real before and after. Something written badly, then the same thing written the way your firm actually writes. 3. What things cost and who can decide. Your pricing. Discount authority. The floor below which you walk away. What needs a second signature and what nobody may commit to without you. Because otherwise the AI infers your pricing from your last proposal. And your last proposal is a number you charged once. It is not a rule. 4. What never leaves the room. Which information crosses which wall. Client A's fax never appear in Client B's work. Salary data never lands in a document that goes outside. Name the walls explicitly. This is the file whose failures are silent and expensive. And 5. What done looks like. For each thing you produce regularly, what makes it finished and good. Not a checklist of steps. A standard someone else could apply and reach the same verdict you would. 2 notes before you go and write those. The first, write the counterexamples. For every one of the 5, the useful content is at the edges. We are professional and friendly tells the model nothing, because every company on earth believes that about itself. We never use exclamation marks, we never say excited to share, and we never call our own work innovative as instantly usable. The negative space is what defines the shape. The second, if you cannot answer one of the five, that is the finding. Most people discover that one or two of these have never actually been decided, usually the money one and the sign-off one. The AI has been guessing at them, and so quietly have some of your people. Now, what changes as the work spreads? When it is just you or up to about 25 people, your entire job is to make the thing exist, not to make it good. Elegance is the enemy here because elegance is what people use as a reason to wait. One folder, 5 files, plain text. If you are one person, this is genuinely an afternoon. Start with how we sound and what done looks like in that order. They change the output within minutes, and that is what makes you keep going. The owner is you, not a committee. At this size, the correct number of owners is 1, and it should be whoever has the strongest opinions about the work being right. And the way it stays alive is 15 minutes a month asking one question. What did I correct the AI on this month that I will have to correct again? Write that down. The failure at this stage is not building the wrong thing. It is building nothing while researching the right way to build it. Somewhere around 25 people, the problem changes character completely and most firms do not notice it happening. Below that line, this is an extraction problem. It is in one head and it needs to get onto a page. Above it, it becomes an arbitration problem. It is in several heads, those heads disagree, and writing it down forces somebody to decide who is right. That is why these projects stall in a way solo ones never do. It looks like a documentation exercise. It is actually a series of small, slightly political decisions. Sales thinks the discount floor is one number. Finance thinks it is another. Nobody has been wrong until now because nobody had to write it in a file that a machine would then apply 1,000 times. What you add at this stage is an owner per domain. And this is the whole ballgame, not the sales team owns the sales context. A person by name whose job description says so. Because the most common failure here is several teams each maintaining a private, contradictory version of the company. All of them confident. None of them canonical. You also want one short shared file at the top that everyone's AI reads, holding only what is true company-wide. Give that one a single owner too, whose main job is keeping it short. And one rule that matters more than any cadence. Corrections go back into the file, not just into the chat. When somebody fixes the AI's output, the fix has to land somewhere it will apply next time. Without that, you have a document. With it, you have a system that improves. Past about 100 people, the 5 files stop being documents and start being infrastructure. 3 things become non-optional. Access, not everyone should see everything. And the important part is that the boundary has to be structural, not advisory. Telling the AI not to reveal something is a convention, not a control. If the data is present, it is one clever question away from surfacing. The pattern that works is to separate by container rather than by exception. Instead of one big shared space with sensitive corners hidden inside it, run a small number of separate spaces, each with its own membership. Each person's view is then the union of the ones they belong to. It is a less clever design than fine-grained permissions. It fails far less often. Freshness. At this size, the dangerous failure is not an empty context layer. It is a full one that is quietly wrong. A comprehensive 18-month-old system that nobody trusts is worse than 3 honest files, because people stop checking and start assuming. Every file needs an owner, a last reviewed date, and a rule that flags it as stale rather than serving it as fact. And a named architect. Somebody owns the shape of the whole thing. Not the content of each file, but the structure, and the question of whether a new file should exist at all. Without that role, you get sprawl, where every team has built its own assistant, and each one knows a different version of the company. One caution that survives every stage. When Anthropic told people to simplify their instruction files, they added a clause that almost everyone dropped, except in highly important areas. Your money boundaries, your confidentiality walls, and your sign-off rules are the important areas. They are verbose. They are repetitive. They should stay exactly as they are. Simplify around them, never through them. We run our own firm on the kind of context layer just described, which is the only reason we can be specific about the failure modes. We have hit most of them. 2 weeks ago, we audited our own setup and found roughly 1,500 lines of context loading before any work began. Every session, whatever the task, a session about a client proposal was reading the same material as a session about our accounting. None of it was built carelessly. Every piece was added for a reason. The reasons had just stopped being true and nobody had gone back to check. So, where does outside help actually fit? Most of this is genuinely self-serve, and you should not hire anybody for the part you can do in an afternoon. But 3 things are harder from the inside for structural reasons rather than technical ones. Arbitration is political. Deciding whose version of the discount floor is canonical means telling somebody they have been doing it wrong. That conversation is easier when the person asking has no stake in the answer. Pattern recognition takes having watched it go wrong elsewhere. And the cadence is the thing almost nobody sustains alone through the first 2 quarters. The instinct to get help here is common and well-founded. PAX 8 surveyed 400 small business leaders this year, and 84% said they would trust an outside technology advisor to help them implement AI. If you do bring somebody in, apply one test to us or to anyone else. Ask what you own at the end. If the answer is a set of files your team can open, edit and operate without the firm that built them. That is architecture work. If the answer is a dependency, you have bought a subscription to your own knowledge. So here is your Monday. Make a folder called Context. Create 5 files named for the 5 questions. Set a timer for 90 minutes. Write how we sound first as contrast. Write what done looks like second for the one thing you produce most often. Those 2 will change your output today. Then who we are in under a page. Then what things cost and who decides, including the number below which you walk away. Then what never leaves the room. Point your AI at the folder and ask it to draft the thing you were going to write this afternoon anyway. Fix what it gets wrong, and then put the fix in the file rather than only in the chat. That last move is the entire discipline, and it is the one people skip. That was this week's briefing. The 5 files your AI needs from you, and what changes as more people have to agree on them. The full article is on the site. Every source, the 5 files written out in detail, and a prompt that interviews you and hands back your own first draft. This has been the AI Briefing from Bosio.Digital, where AI transformation starts with your people. Thanks for listening.